the robotics arms race is out there, which is going coincidentally with AI arms race. So what happens when you get a robot and you have AI and you manage to merge those together and it actually becomes something intelligent? Scary times, but it could be profitable.
Unsecured on-chain credit, I don't want to see that. I really don't want to see that, because without proof of humanity, why are you even considering unsecured on-chain credit? It just makes no sense.
Proof of humanity. So I had to really think through this. What on earth do they mean for proof of humanity? But really, what they're saying is I guess it lends itself to being something similar to KYC.
The content presented in this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered as financial advice, and listeners are encouraged to conduct their own research or consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.
Crypto flip.
In this week's podcast, the bull market is back, baby. We are over $91,000. We'll be talking about that. And the brief dip below 84K during the week. We'll be also talking about doomsday, which could trigger mass sell-offs. And it's to do with your favorite guy, Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. And finally, we'll be looking ahead to 2026, where Coinbase Ventures has outlined what they are most looking forward to next year. But before we get into any of that, you know what we have to do? We have to speak to the DJs in this space, because there are crypto confessions. So let's get into it. I had it all, then lost it all. I started with nothing in 2022, then worked my way up to 100K with spot only in 2024. I didn't sell and round tripped down to 30K, tried to leverage trade it and got liquidated. It's been almost a year and I still have nothing left. Every single paycheck goes to crypto only to get liquidated. I wish I could have someone to talk to. Every day I think of myself as a failure because of what I could have been. My mind is broken and I don't know what to do anymore. What do you, man, make of that?
Honestly, bruv, yeah. All I can say to you is, why are you still gambling away your funds every month on the crypto market doing what hasn't worked for you? You're a gambler, bro. You have an addictive personality and you like gambling. That's the only thing that can justify your behavior. If you round trip 100K to 30K and then actually down to zero and then think that you're going to do something different, bruv, I don't know. I think maybe he's fixated on the win that he had from the 30 to 100 and he's just like, I'm just going to do that again. But bro, the market does this thing, yeah, where the second you get complacent and comfortable, it wipes you out, bro. So just don't ever get complacent and comfortable. He's trapped, bro, because taking every penny of your paycheck to put into crypto, yeah, bro, your exit liquidity, man, unfairly.
Wait, he started off so well because he had 100K in spot. Yes, you round trip to this happens to the best of them, but sometimes you live it,
That's the best of them.
The best. Bam. Because at the end of the day, yeah, the only way you're able to get so up is because you accumulated a spot and you obviously things worked out your way and you obviously got up to 6 figures, even though you lost it, but you didn't go down to zero because you want to use a leverage. Why change the strategy? That's where you effed up, in my opinion. I feel like it was a series of compounded mistakes and then the portfolio never recovered. And like you said, leverage has never worked for you. Like if you check your tally, if you check your historical results and you see your wins and losses in your P&L, when it comes to leverage trading, it's never ever worked for you. So why put more money into it? That's what I don't understand. Like it's like doing the same thing over and over again and just expecting different results. That's just insanity, in my opinion. So it's a shame. He had potential, but I think he's too far gone. Like, I don't even think he listened to the best. I think he's now chasing that loss. He has to make it any way or other, fam. Like he has to make it. So I feel bad for him, man. It just he lost another one to the blockchain. On-chain slaughter, fam. That's what happens when you touch leverage. Like you just don't touch it.
He had a golden opportunity and he squandered it. His mistake wasn't actually round tripping the bag from 100 to 30. Now you could say risk management, you could have softened the losses, true. But at the same time, you can always bounce back from that. 30K is nothing to sniff at in crypto, and he could have leveraged that, not leverage trading, but actually used that capital to go from where he was at 30K and build back his stack. All he needed was some risk management. But then he started doing the leverage thing, and then boom, account blown up. Definitely a cautionary tale. Stay away from leverage. I think that's the moral of the story. But let's get into the next one. It feels like everyone has a couple 10x to 30x stories at size to speak of in the last 6 months or so. My last big success was late 2024 when I caught a few AI tokens but round-tripped them completely. Since then, I spent far too much time not adapting, and I pretty much burned 40K of my own income, about 50% of all I've earned, and I have next to nothing to show for it. I've either sized incorrectly, managed risk or mismanaged risk, or been flat out irresponsible. What do you man make of that?
You know what the maddest thing about this is? Do you know what the maddest thing about this is? This can be anybody's story in the sense that when he says he knows a few people with some 6 to 30x's, is he talking about them dons that he sees on Twitter? Because if he is, yeah, there's loads of them, but bro, most of them, they're just not real. If he's talking about some real people that he knows have done these mad moves, then kudos to them, I guess. But most people are not doing 6 to 30x's, bro. Like, they're just not. And like the mismanagement of size, all of that, bro, everybody's been there, bro. You have a winner and you're like, man, this is 80%. If only I poured my life savings, if only I sold, my cousin and my dog and put the money in here, hey, things will be better now. But yeah, it sounds like he's reasonably given up on crypto, which is crazy because I guess sentiment says this is how a lot of people feel. Yeah, I can't even say I feel. It's not that I don't feel bad. I don't know, man. I feel my man's pain a bit. Like, we all want more winners. But yeah, maybe he's going about it wrong. Thinking that he's got nothing to show for it and just being irresponsible. Like, I don't know. At the end of the day, stick to your strategy, innit?
I mean, it sounded like another brother that was, you know what I mean, another victim to the leverage game because you burnt to 40K. If, you know what I mean, obviously, if your token has crashed and then you haven't recovered, that's another story, bro. It sounds like he was mismanaging risk, and that sounds like leverage to me. I'm sorry. That just sounds like he dabbled a little bit after round tripping his AI tokens. He dabbled a little bit in leverage and it got wrecked. And to be honest, losses are not that bad. He can still bounce back, bro. But like you said, it's the way he's confessing his story. It sounds like he's given up. It sounds like he's finally quit. And then again, just another brother lost to the exit liquidity game, fam. Which is, what can you say? Like, it's not for everyone. This market's definitely not for everyone. And I mean, if you can't handle multiple 30% correction in the bull run, like, this is not for you. Honestly, it's not for.
You know what, yeah? I like this guy. And I'll tell you why. He has an element of self-awareness that most traders and investors simply don't have. I've read a lot of these confessions over the years, and he understands himself. He knows where he's going wrong. His problem is that he's not able to correct those mistakes because clearly he's in the same position. But at least he knows where he's going wrong. So I give him that. As for, wiping out his 40K portfolio, if you want to call it that, or what he has in cash, and then burn through in crypto, it can happen. Like Rick said, it's a relatable story. You put money in, and sometimes you don't get that money back out. It gets sucked into the market. But yeah, I think you just have to go back to the drawing board. You seem like you still got a bit of, I was going to say strategy. Strategy is not the right word. A bit of enthusiasm left. So yeah, I would use that a little bit, a bit more than the last guy. So I would use that and try and come up with a new strategy. Things are always changing in the market, and more so even in this particular cycle. So all is not lost, but you just have to keep your ear to the ground and see what's actually happening. But with that being said, welcome back to the Crypto Flip podcast. I am your host, Harris King, and I am joined with my co-hosts, Ricardo and Deji. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube and if you're listening on any audio platform, don't forget to leave a review because it really does help us. And if it's your first time listening, we talk strictly about crypto, how it can help you, and we give our spin on it from an everyday person's viewpoint. Been in the market for the past few years, so we're just discussing how it can help you. So, what's been happening? Last week, there was a capitulation. We were hovering around 90K. We were steady, going back and forth, and then it went down to about 83. He broke through to 84, broke through 84 to 83K. And there was mass hysteria. People thinking not only is this the end of the market, is this the end of crypto? These are the types of conversations that people were having. But now, as it stands today, we have broken back above and it is 90K. So that is positive. People seem to have their mojo back, and apparently crypto is back at the same time, because 90K, 100K, 120K is not all that far away. So what do you guys make of the action that we've been seeing in recent times?
I remember last episode we were talking about how I was saying I don't see sweeping below 85. I was dead wrong because it did sweep below that. And obviously, this is no one really knows what will happen today, tomorrow, especially when it comes to trading, because when we got sub 85, I was thinking we needed an emergency pod, but obviously we didn't actually get time to do that. But it was very interesting seeing the timeline reaction, seeing a lot of the bears just coming out, like, a lot of the people that claim Bitcoin is not gold store of value, that XRP is actually the best. Like, imagine all coins getting slapped and people are still hating the XRP. But just because of the shame of the XRP army, I think they're just shameless. So it's like, how can you be dug in Bitcoin when Bitcoin is probably the reason why you exist, like reason why you are even a company? But that's still for another day. But this capitulation I've been calling for it for a while now, and then finally happened. And I almost feel like obviously now we've bounced a little bit. All coins are going to start rallying, but I don't know. Until we claim back 95K range of Bitcoin, I don't trust this run. I do not trust it until we reclaim that range of, looking at my chart now, because everything's in the chart. Charts don't lie. So I'm looking at, it will pique my interest if Bitcoin can close above that 93K range to 95K range. That will show to me that it's got another move towards 105 at least. And if you can reclaim that, then we could talk about that Q4 value we've been talking about that usually happens when we get a correction like this. So is the correction over? I don't know. We could, we swept as low as 80K, $80,500, but we could probably, at the previous low that we swept was $74,538. That was in May. Now, sorry, that was like early April. Do we sweep that and bounce? Because this capitulation looked fairly similar to that early Q2 this year. Like, we formed a strong double bottom, we first tested, rally, then we faked out, back down again to make a newer lower low, took out all the liquidity and rallied to 126K. So that could potentially happen. I think that's what I'm probably leaning towards. And again, I'm not going to say this, I don't want to jinx it. If it does go to 74K, I don't see dropping down to 63K. I think some people are calling for the previous all-time high from the previous bull run. I don't see it sweeping 63K, but it could. Who knows? But I think for now, strong. That's a decent bounce, should I say? I won't say strong bounce, and then we'll see how it goes. But I'm keeping an eye on those 93 to 95k range to see how strong. That will tell me how strong this run is and if the bulls have some fat left in them, because they have been getting slaughtered and the bears are obviously making a little bit of noise. But yeah, all eyes on Bitcoin to see what happens next. I think that is probably going to be the fertile signs of what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Fully hear you. I think I'm looking at this from like a sentiment perspective, because Harry shared this thing in our Discord, join our Discord, which was just around the sentiment of how people are feeling right now. And crazy thing, so we bottomed out depending on which fear and greed calculator you look at, between 9 and 11. So we bottomed out around 9-11, and that's when and that's when everything went crazy. Like there was like $1.5 billion worth of liquidations across the market. People were panicked. And like the last time sentiment was low over the last year, like, you know, in the red, like below 25, was in August this year, and then again in sorry, not August. It was in April. And then it was in March. And any guesses for the price of Bitcoin when the fear and greed fell off a cliff and people were just like, this is it, the bull market's over? It was like 80k. So the fact that people are mad fearful, because now that we've returned to that same 80k mark, for me, just feels like, I don't know. Because that was a massive shakeout. The market dropped. We had something, I think at the time it was something like 400 million worth of liquidations. The market fell off a cliff. It was some tariff news at the time. 2 lots of tariff news. We spoke about it on the pod. And it was only like 2 months after that we saw things go crazy in May, with new prices over 100, blah, 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 blah. So there's 2 cases here. The case could be that we bottomed out in fear and greed and we bottomed out at 9. Now we're at like 18. Prices looking a bit more comfortable. We're at about 92. Is there prospect for everything to go higher? Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, you just have to ask yourself, like, how do people feel about the market? Because, bro, everybody knows that last week, everyone was like, this is it, this is done. And honestly, those are probably the best times to buy if you're in Bitcoin for the long term. If you're in this for, 5 years, those are the best times to buy, bro. You say, when everyone is on Twitter is like, this is done, everything is over, that's when you should get in. When everyone's euphoric and they're like, yeah, oh my gosh, I just made 400x on some stupid meme coin, that's probably when you should sell. But yeah, so that is what it is. Right now, things are still oversold, so there's still a good opportunity to buy Bitcoin. I saw ETFs were bleeding. Those mad weak ETF inflows last week, and they've started to pick up just a little over the last few days. And generally, sentiment now is, it was a shakeout. Like, 126 wasn't the top, it was a shakeout, and people have been shaken out. So it's time for the market to go crazy. Me, bro, long-term portfolio, buy some Bitcoin now. I got in again at, I think it was 87. Yeah, and I'm just gonna wait for these opportunities. Like for the spot, I'm just gonna wait for these opportunities and just keep.
Oh, I was buy it. Like what? You leveraged.
I did leverage. I'm not gonna lie, I did leverage. But the spot bag is
Did you get them accumulated?
I should get some spot. I thought I did get some spot until I checked to see that you can press that button, man.
You should. I'm saying you should.
This is the perfect time to buy spot. This is perfect time to buy spot.
It's definitely a good brand. I think personally for me, I'm highly, and I think I haven't said this before, but I'm highly interested in Bitcoin sub 100k. I think 100k Bitcoin plus, I'm just gonna trade the other tradable assets and just follow that profit back to Bitcoin. But I think personally for me, anytime it's sub 100, sub 90, sub 80, sub 70, sub 60, what bullish long term? Yes, we're bullish in the short term too, because we don't like to round trip our bags. But I think right now, it's a sweet spot to get in spot wise. Even leverage wise, though, obviously manage your risk. It's still an NFA, obviously.
Yeah, definitely can't let these institutions and the Wintermutes and Binances of the world shake you out of your Bitcoin. If you got a long-term portfolio and you're getting spooked, I don't know what you're doing. But more to the point of, these recent price fluctuations. Last week, I think it was last week, I mentioned that if you have some liquidity on the side, it's a great time because, volatility is where you're going to make your money long term. So it's a great opportunity, and it still is like 90K for Bitcoin where we are in, cycle, or not this particular cycle, but where we are as far as how much Bitcoin has grown over the years is still a good opportunity. Only a small fraction of the world actually owns Bitcoin, and there's still a lot of upside. Now, is it going to 100x? Obviously not. But is there still 2, 3, 4? Yeah, there's opportunity there. Especially if you are looking beyond, the next 10 years or whatnot. So I think you just need to be able to zoom out, which is easier said than done, especially if you're on social media or watching the news or even looking at the charts. Because when you see 30% plus drops in Bitcoin and altcoins, falling flat on their face, it's not easy to manage your emotions. So if you're able to do that, you'll definitely do well in the long term. But there's something that you probably should know. Because on January the 15th, MicroStrategy could be delisted from some of the places that it's listed on. So let's have a look at the story in a bit more depth. Strategy risks being delisted following the decision on January the 15th, 2026, as the company holds a huge amount of Bitcoin. And this will be reviewed by the MSCI. And they also have a lot of debt as well. I believe Strategy were included in, was it the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ?
Yeah.
I can't remember which one.
They were included and they were excluded, I believe, right, Rick? They were dropped, I believe. Yeah.
I think so. I can't remember.
They're facing even more potential delisting. So that is not good for a number of different reasons, because MicroStrategy hold a lot of Bitcoin. And if they get into a position whereby, in order to remain listed on some of these places for people to purchase MicroStrategy, if they have to unload their Bitcoin, that can obviously create a potential negative flywheel, whereby they have forced selling, which makes the price go lower, which creates more forced selling. You get the idea. So a lot of people are looking to this date, January the 15th, as something that could be significant, and it could induce mass fear, or it could just be a buy the rumor, sell the news event, whereby people are fearful and the price just shoots up, irrespective of what happens. But I want to get your initial feedback on what you guys think.
You know what's mad? You know what I find mad about I was thinking about Michael Saylor the other day, and strategy. So I think the last time I checked, based on the last 6 months, their effective buy price of Bitcoin was something in the 90s. Because this guy's buying Bitcoin every week. So I thought to myself, when that dropped down to 84, was he not super fearful about the potential, of the short term? Because at the end of the day, I mean, he's a maxi, but he has to adhere to his shareholders and everybody on the team.
I think his average, though, is like 70 or something like that.
Yeah, the overall average is 70, but he's raising debt, right? So let's say we decided to give him 100 mil. He bought Bitcoin at 100. In our heads, surely we're like, bro, you said 100, now it's 90. So my 100 mil is now worth, 90 mil. Like, as an investor, depending on the type of investor you are, you might be hounding him like, bro, what's going on? Maybe he doesn't have those type of people. But I was just thinking that would be interesting as something to happen. And even so, I can still see Bitcoin going below 70 over the next year. But anyway, specifically for this, will it matter to crypto? I think it can. I think it can cause some really big drops in the market. But if they get delisted, so I just checked, they're still on NASDAQ, but if they get delisted from any, whatever they're called, trading house, I guess, that means that regular investors can't like buy MicroStrategy and ride the wave. Which means, but they're still going to be a publicly listed company, right? They just won't be listed in the same amount of places. They'll be listed in less places.
I believe.
I don't know what. Yeah, what I'm on so is
I believe so.
the people that already have some shares in MicroStrategy, and it gets delisted. Do they get refunded or do they just take their shares elsewhere? Because if they take their shares elsewhere, then that's cool. And the whole having loads of Bitcoin on your balance sheet, and that's the reason why we're going to delist you. This kind of feels like centralization doing centralization stuff, because that's mad, bro. Like, why should it matter what the company has under their books?
I think it's relative to their revenue, though. Like, you've got all of this Bitcoin that you're raising via debt. They're not buying it from their profit. It's through debt.
This isn't new, bro. When he started accumulating Bitcoin aggressively, his company was making something like, I think it was something like 100 million. But yet the guy has like hundreds of billions in debt in Bitcoin. Like the PE ratio, the profits to earning ratio was like way skewed before he had Bitcoin. He buys Bitcoin, the PE ratio gets skewed even more. Like the amount of money that the company generates from his software, because it was a software business originally, I don't know if it still is, was like so minuscule into how much, in comparison to how much money they had in crypto. Like, this isn't new information. So what's the trigger now? Like, who did he piss off?
Maybe there's just a threshold, and if you get beyond a certain thresholds, then, they're going to see what happens. And also, let's not forget, the value of the Bitcoin was rising at 1.2. So when the value is high, then it's no longer a debt, it becomes an asset. But it became a liability, and then they're scratching their heads thinking, you might get to a place where you become insolvent, where you're not going to be able to pay these people back, and we don't want it to happen. And, we want to protect investors. So that might be how they're looking at it.
I can shed some light into that. So obviously strategy was not included in the S&P 500 September reshuffle because, even though the firm reported 3.8 billion Q3 earnings, obviously profitability that's tied to Bitcoin price movement. Obviously, I feel like definitely, this is even a quote from, the index decision makers. They're concerned about the inconsistencies of Bitcoin, because sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. Yes, it's a great store of value long term, but it still fluctuates because it's crypto market. It's lower on the risk curve, and they feel like any time they could have a potential. Because I feel like how it works is the S&P 500 itself gives you passive inflow of income by buying your shares to kind of maintain their weight. But at the same time, they're not sure you can keep meeting the requirements of the S&P 500. And I'm not sure if that's why they're getting the listeners of exchanges, but that is the hurdle of strategy with S&P 500. So I don't see them. The only way I see strategy being able to kind of, and I don't know what his goals are, but I think from outside looking in as an investor who just don't want to get delisted and liquidated because that's not good for business. That's just bad for business. I would, and I know the thing about it, because his whole path to fame was being a Bitcoin maxi, Bitcoin maxi. I felt like if he was, right now the conference 100% Bitcoin. That's the asset they hold it, 100% Bitcoin, yeah? They don't have a R&D technology that they can say that we're doing some in-house development. Their thing is Bitcoin only, right? If they diversified into gold, I think that will probably help meet the requirement, because then your earnings will be a bit more stable. But knowing MicroStrategy, he would never touch gold, because he's like he's like, I said, for me, from outside looking at, he's like an all for nothing guy. He's all for Bitcoin, nothing else. Like Ethereum, he's not holding Ethereum. Like, I don't think he's holding Ethereum in balance sheet. You know what I mean? If he's gonna do that, he probably create a separate company for that. But I feel like, when you're managing a portfolio of 3.8 billion, which is currently what they're holding the balance sheet, obviously mostly by debt and every kind of stuff, but you still have some Bitcoin physically that you can obviously sell. My concern is when you're managing that kind of money of 8 figures, 9 figures, you have to be diversified to maintain and defend your position from a revenue standpoint, from your profit standpoint. And when you're not doing that and you just expose yourself to one little basket, not I won't say big because it's a little basket, but, and I mean, it does go through its things. They will just 5 weeks ago that people were talking about Bitcoin 4-year cycle is done, is up from here only. Now it's bear market. Now it's the preferred bear market. Like, look at the swing. And that is what S&P people are they're concerned about that.
You're concerned if there is forced selling, what that effect that'll have on the market.
Oh, 1,000%. Listen here, the reason why I forgot to mention this point. The reason why I would never listen to that BS online about, 4-year cycle's done, 4-year cycle's done. The 4-year cycle will never be done. It will never be done. You know what I mean? And when this market is done, when this bull run is done, we will be looking back and be like, the reason why it's done is because of all these small companies that started up using debt to leverage buy Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin and use that as a strategic reserve. They're going to be the reason why like Bitcoin probably crashes when obviously the price is no longer sustained by this massive ETF inflows and all these company buying. Once that slows down and there's no more liquidity and there's no more steam to go on, watch out. It's lights out.
Is it something that scares me? I wouldn't say scares, but I would definitely be wary heading into that period. I'll have some cash on the sidelines just in case to take advantage. But at the same time, I wouldn't be completely in stables just in case, it goes the other way and nothing happens and it just rebounds and things shoot off into the stratosphere. But what I will say is that it'll be interesting to see how things develop when, the money printer turns on. Because when the money printer turns on, this may not even be an issue. Like debt will be essentially be free. So people won't necessarily care in the short term what effects that will have. But obviously, with the fiscal policies being what they are, people care a little bit more. So, yeah, I think you just need to be cautious, but it's not something that I would be so fearful of. Remember when everyone was expecting Bitcoin to crash because of all the FTX selling that didn't really amount to much. The news story came and sort of went. So I think this could potentially be similar, actually. But if it does get delisted from anywhere major, just be prepared. But even if that is the case, it'll just be something short term that you can take advantage of. So it's either going to go up, in which case, great, or it goes down, in which case, great. You can either buy or you can ride it. So I'm not really too concerned, which is a good thing. But something else which could be a good thing is Coinbase Ventures, who have released what they are most excited for 2026. So they made a list of different niches or different categories that they're actually interested in investing in or they're kind of monitoring at the moment. And I'm going to read the list so we can see where smart money is trying to put their money. So they're looking at RWA perpetuals, specialized exchanges and prop MMMs, prediction market trading terminals, composable perp markets, unsecured on-chain credit, interesting, on-chain privacy, robotics data via DeepIn. I think robotics is going to be interesting. We'll touch on that. Proof of humanity. I don't even know what that means. AI agents for on-chain development. So of those, in my opinion, some of the more interesting things are the robotics data via DeepIn, because we have Tesla who have, this iRobot looking thing that's supposedly launching soon. I've seen other independent companies on X release their own humanoids and stuff like that, and they're coming soon. So clearly that the robotics arms race is out there, which is going coincidentally with the AI arms race. So what happens when you get a robot and you have AI and you manage to merge those together and it actually becomes something intelligent? Scary times, but could be profitable. Then we got AI agents for on-chain development. I think AI agents right now are in its most basic phase, and it could be really, really interesting. Like, imagine just being able to type out a prompt and it can do some complex things and move money to different wallets and rebalance things and stuff like that. I think we could see a lot more as far as that's concerned as well. On-chain privacy. I wonder why they've written that, because we obviously have, Monero and Zcash and all these other chains which are privacy focused, but maybe they're thinking a layer deeper than I am right now. I'm not too sure. But those are some of the ones that sort of stick out to me. What about you guys?
I mean, some stick out for like bad reasons. Unsecured on-chain credit. I nearly spat my water out my mouth when I saw that one because
I used to win, innit?
it was because at the end of the day, what you're saying is, we're just gonna allow people to borrow more money across crypto markets, which is
That's crazy.
yeah, good and bad. And maybe they're looking at it in the sense that we want to actually like beef up our perp opportunities and do some crazy stuff with it that way. That'd be interesting. Or maybe they're just thinking finance, money, loans, credit cards, fintech print money every year. So maybe we can join the arms race. That was interesting. Another thing that's interesting to me is proof of humanity. So I had to like really think through this. What on earth do they mean for proof of humanity? But really what they're saying is like, I guess it lends itself to being something similar to KYC. And this has been something that like I've been in the identity space in self-sovereign identity for quite a while. And this is something that could be interesting. And it's been something that so many people have said that they care about. And Vitalik, I think every ETH global event, he mentions how he wants Ethereum to be the leader in self-sovereign identity and essentially proof of humanity. However, the funding is never there. So they can keep looking. I just don't think the funding is there for that type of thing to happen.
I've seen those type of protocols before. I think I even went to a meetup. Maybe it was even with you. And they like basically I've seen more than one, but I think the basic premise with some of them is you own your own identity and then you get rewarded for using it and stuff like that. None of them have really taken off.
None of them. And trust me, I've been part of some of them. And it's not because it's not amazing. It's just because people like passwords, innit? They like to put their passwords into a service and get in there. And yeah, it's only the people that are in crypto that care about privacy as much as the people that are making crypto that cares about privacy, which is interesting. So yeah, that's interesting to me. And yeah, probably I don't even know what composable perp markets are, but that sounds intense. So yeah, maybe RWA perpetuals as well. It'd be interesting to see how that will play out in the market.
RWA perpetuals would be nice though. It will actually increase liquidity because I think what that market is missing is liquidity. I mean, they need more bigger players in that space. So, I think our RWA will definitely get some more traction in the next cycle for sure. Because there'll be another cycle. There's always another cycle. You can miss me with that 4-year cycle gone BS. You can put that in your pipe or smoke it. But yeah, I think personally for me, what excites me is obviously I think. Rick, you mentioned the composable perp market is very interesting and also very risky. So good, we'll see how that goes. RWA perpetuals will be great. Unsecured on-chain credit, I don't want to see that. I really don't want to see that because without proof of humanity, why are you even considering unsecured on-chain credit? It just makes no sense. And not like to tie my tokens down to borrow stables and then just have to go buy my Bitcoin or what. It just sounds messy. On-chain privacy is, I guess, do we want more privacy because of all these new bigger players in the market? Is that why? I think that's probably why. Even though you had these older dinosaur ones that have their own protocol that will not obviously, they're not going anywhere. I think, I think we will always like want more on-chain privacy. I feel like is once your ducks, and then some people probably want more on-chain and privacy. Who would want that? If it means this greater security, I'm all for it. But what I'm most interested in, and I don't even know how this is possible because AI is still this early infancy stages, the AI agents for on-chain development and robotics data via deep in. I think those two are very, very interesting into next year and see what turns they take because the hottest thing right now is AI, and I don't see that slowing down. Even when you have oversaturation of AI browsers, AI products, that kind of stuff. I still feel like there will be new layers, new challenges to solve. I feel like there's a massive memory issue that makes this interesting, this AI agent for on-chain development, because theoretically, do I have more access to more memory on-chain? I don't know. I think that's what makes this research, and that's what makes any project that's working this. Yeah. All right, cool. This is like I'm pumped for 2026 now, because I think we've moved away from like being kind of like tech driven, product driven, to more like, and I blame it all on meme coins. Like, what I'm looking forward to is meme coins going to the tail end of his career, the sunset of meme coins, and he goes into the basket of NFT, the no shit list, the irrelevant products of crypto, and then we move on to other bigger things, because I feel like that's just this whole talk of last year and the little bit of this year. This year it hasn't been much, but the last year it was all I saw on TikTok, all I saw on social media.
So what you're saying is, it's the end of Morad now, yeah?
Oh, bro, Morad has not been relevant since XPX was above $1, and XPX now. How much is XPX? Let me go check.
Right, I have to check how much Morad's wallet is worth now on Arkham.
Yo, Rick, you're savage.
I must stop Morad, Arkham Exchange.
How many would you get? 3 mil.
You're going to guess 3 mil. Deji, I'll take your guesses while I verify.
My guess is, I would say $1 mil, and I'm being generous, man.
$1 mil. Harris is saying 3 mil. $22 million.
Currently?
Higher.
Hey, is this just meme coins?
Possible.
Or other stuff?
Well, XTX alone, he's got $21.89 million worth of XPX. So
That's
really,
and a lot of the ground, but
10%. You can't sell that.
Yeah, yeah, you can't sell that. Yeah, if you sell that, the price,
Everything else.
Anyway, I was gonna say, even XPX pumped last night 15%. So there's a little 50% boost in this portfolio.
exactly. Well, with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next one.